When you want to build for the future, you may have to sometimes knock down part of the past. A community may have to decide whether to buy a historic site and preserve it, or let it go on the open market, imposing planning conditions, which would mean less profit for the person selling the site, or less profit for the people who buy it and want to develop it. A community like Drogheda may have to decide to let commercial considerations apply and, for instance, let traffic slowly undermine the St. Lawrence Barbican here behind me, or preserve history at any cost. Any proposed National Heritage Council will have to look at these questions. But in the first place, it's a decision for the local community, in this case, Drogheda. Modern Drogheda is a town situated on the crossroads of two routes, one going north-south, still an important axis linking Belfast and Dublin, and the other recalling its Irish name, Drogheda, the bridge on the ford across the Boyne, dominated by the Cllr, ancient seat of municipal authority, and other pointers to history in quiet streets and laneways. Its most noticeable landmark, the Boyne Viaduct, is a more modern feature, an engineering feat symbolising the industrial growth of Drogheda from early times.
It's a very old town, founded by the Normans way back in the 13th century, and has grown and developed since that. But unfortunately, in the last 50 or 60 years, the developer has moved in, and I'm afraid that in due course there'll be nothing left of the old town.
Oh, what have you lost?
Oh, we have lost quite a lot. First of all, we have lost the Linen Hall, and the Linen Hall dates back to 1774, when we had about 3,000 handloom weavers in the town, and they brought the linen there to sell on Saturday. Again, we have lost the weavers' houses in the Green Lanes, and those houses were built at the same time as the Linen Hall for weavers, specially designed for weavers. They're gone. The focal point of Drogheda, of course, is the Boyne. Here on the waterfront, the trade of the town developed from its position on the river. And of course, after the Industrial Revolution, many very fine industrial buildings were erected outside the town walls to deal with the milling and the textile industries. Those buildings, the fine 19th century buildings, worthy of preservation. Of course, we've lost our lovely 19th century bridge, which has been demolished recently to make way for a new bridge. And of course, you can see it has destroyed the whole character of the bull ring, which was centred round the pastime of bull baiting in the 16th and 17th centuries. Again, now we have Millmount, where we have our museum. Millmount is a barrack complex of the Georgian period. The corporation gave us one of the houses in which we have a museum. To this, every year come 4,000 visitors from all parts of the world, and they love to come along and see Drogheda, but eventually there'll be nothing left of Drogheda to see if the developers are allowed to proceed as they're doing at present in Lawrence Street with the grammar school, and they propose to deal later on with Whitworth Hall.
The focus of continuing controversy about its preservation, Drogheda Grammar School, was built in the mid-18th century and consisted of two houses. The minds of some of the most illustrious members of Grattan's Parliament were first opened to the benefits of education here. The buildings are now in a state of arrested development, one might say, or more appropriately, arrested redevelopment. The back view of Drogheda Grammar School shows what happens when historic buildings become the subject of long drawn-out argument between preservers and those who are claiming the right to develop for the future.
And I would certainly support commercial development and indeed any development, provided that it's done within the law. And I would support any developer if he acts according to the wishes of the town. In this particular case, it's not a normal planning application because you're changing the development plan. And the development plan can only be changed by the elected members. The people who purchased the property knew when they purchased it that it was listed for preservation, and therefore it's a different ball game in this instance. But the corporation has in fact given permission, outline planning permission, to the owners of this building for townhouses at the rear of the building, and they refused full planning permission until they told us what they were going to do with the building. And it's quite clear to me that the the wishes of the people of the town and the elected members is to preserve this building. Now, money is available nationally from a special EEC fund to border counties to preserve buildings such as these, and we hope to make an application through our regional board fortune manager on this very basis very, very soon. And please God, money might be available to save this very, very important building.
But the question remains, is it too late already to save this building on its site and develop both together, as one suggestion has it, as a library or cultural centre? Or is it really worth preserving at all? What was this building like from an architectural point of view? Why should it in its heyday have merit, or why did it have merit?
Well, it was built in 1730 about, and is one of the finest townhouses in any Irish town. The interior was, until the end of 1979, intact. Virtually every room filled with very fine oak and pine panelling, all with cornices and chair rails and elaborate skirtings, arches, Corinthian capitals, and so on. The rooms also contained fine Kilkenny marble chimney pieces, and the entrance hall had a fine black and white marble floor. Now, when I saw the building first in February 1980, all this panelling had been removed. I was told that it had been carefully removed so that it could be preserved elsewhere for a future owner to put back. But when I saw the building itself, I was frankly appalled by the way the panelling had been removed. I'd say that it had been removed by a pickaxe. Bits of cornices left scattered all over the floor, smashed stair balusters, the marble chimney pieces ripped out, broken, and as a final insult, just left on the floor for anybody to see. The floors themselves were 2 or 3 inches deep in water, a lot of soaked paper lying about the place, adding to the general appalling picture within.
Well, to the uninitiated now, Mr. Redmond, it doesn't look very much. Could it be ever put back in a state that you feel it would be worthy of preservation?
Oh, definitely, yes. At the moment, it looks very bad, but that is the shell. One can compare it to a building, say a private house that needs redecorating. It's got seedy wallpaper, say, and the paint hasn't been looked at for 25 years. That will look appalling, but
Structurally,
it's in perfect condition.
Drogheda Grammar School is only one of hundreds of buildings around the country about which decisions, including financial ones, will have to be made. Drogheda's new bridges and ring road have bypassed the ancient trade centre round the Bull Ring and St Mary's Bridge, a decision imposed in many ways by new patterns of trade, including heavy road haulage. The question for Drogheda, as for many other old but thriving Irish towns, is whether the new and the old are compatible. Can you preserve old Drogheda for the future while providing the new trading centres and facilities? Above all, how much do you preserve, how much will it cost, and who'll pay?